Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. My name is Eric. I'm joined by Rob, my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot. We got a bit of a chiller video as me and Rob are trying to accrue all the cards to make all these decks for you guys to get this gameplay footage out. We have a good amount of the cards. We're only missing like one or two that we might just like proxy until we buy them, but at least we're not proxying like 6, 7, 8 cards. So at this point, we will be bringing out some deck techs and some CC and some all kinds of good stuff in the next coming weeks. I guess starting next week. With this is our last kind of Dynasty assessment based on winners and losers of Dynasty. And by winners and losers, we kind of mean in respect to the CC meta more and just like with the hero overall. We're kind of ignoring Blitz at the moment just because like Skirmish is fine, but there's not as many Blitz competitive events outside of Worlds that just happened. And I think people are going to be kind of ignoring Blitz until the next Skirmish anyways. Which is fine, but we do have the ProQuest season coming out in January, so that'll kind of be the first main series of events to qualify for PT3, which we have no details for as of today, which is Thursday the 16th. So with that, Dynasty, So I think I'll just preface say, we've cracked I think between me and you, Rob, we've cracked, 7 cases, 8 cases, so we have kind of an idea. Roughly. So we have like an idea about like all the cards in the set and kind of the impressions that we have reading these cards, playing around a little bit on like Talshar and armories and such like that. That there are some more clear winners and losers and very kind of distinct classes that I think got the next set treatment, whereas the card doesn't make sense right now in the current meta. But obviously these sets are designed like months, years in the past, so they don't really know what the meta shakes out like. They don't know what LLs. Hint Soraya, hint. So it's like very clear cut when you actually start looking at all the cards, right? So we're gonna start looking at Brute first. So we're just gonna go down. You'll see the screen. You'll see the cards here.
We'll follow
in order. This is not meant to be like a super in detail discussion. If you want more detailed discussion, probably will come out more with like our gameplay and deck text, and we'll talk more about that deck in specifics.
And you can also go back and see our preview, or not preview, but our assessment of every single card, or even just every card of the set we went over, right? So this is more just to analyze at a glance or at a macroscopic level which heroes made out like bandits and which ones kind of have more to be assassins.
Which one made out like assassins?
Assassins, exactly. All right, so starting off with Brute.
So you want to go first?
Yeah, I can talk about Brute a little bit. Yep. So
let's talk about Brute a little bit.
I think that just for starters, Brute got a really good new set of boots. I think so that's good. They have an alternative now to scabskin leathers. They have a way now to get an action point pretty much guaranteed. So I really like that about the boots, and it's a budget option if you don't have scabskins. It's out of print now, so it's harder to find scabskins. The Majestics that Brute got are actually really good. I think above average compared to other heroes. And I think that a lot of them are going to see play in current decks, and also there's going to be a new archetype where you're going to be discarding a lot. And I think that's going to be really nice, kind of more like reckless, gotta go fast kind of deck where you can actually swing for, I'm not sure what the math is, but because of Berserk, you can actually go really tall in terms of how much damage output you can have on one single turn because you can replenish the cards you discard. So anyway, I think this deck has a lot of potential, this new archetype. I personally think Brute is a win in this situation.
Brute is a winner? Yeah, I tend to agree that Brute is a bit of a winner. I mean, Rock is a bit of a...
we'll ignore Rock. I mean, Rock on itself is just amazing, right? Because it's a meme, it kind of gets points for me. But Skullcrack,
I do
amazing.
Yeah,
Berserk,
I do agree with being trackers. Reminds me of Hooves of the Shadow Beast. It's just like a really, really solid piece of equipment. Like guarantees you the action point.
Yeah. Non-attacks suck, though. The non-attacks are just garbage. But we don't really need
I think you're not. Yeah, I think your non-attacks and Brute have to be very, very choosy to begin with.
Yep.
And I think really only Berserk and like Barraging Beatdown are the ones that like you really are considering in your Blood Rush. Obviously.
And of course, Blood Rush.
Yeah. You're running Blood Rush for sure. I'm not really counting Blood Rush.
That's not coming out.
Question marks. But like you might want to consider like not running Barraging Beatdowns and running like a more attack action heavy like guaranteed. You're pulping and you're...
It also begs the question, too, that if you're running Berserk and that relies on having a 6 attack on top, maybe you run like 46 attack cards, right? And just make that much more consistent to get off. So I think this archetype might be promising coming in.
I really like... I think Skullcrack's MVP. I think you're going to run 3 Skullcracks in every single iteration of Rhinar.
Yeah.
I don't know about Levia. I don't think there's that much that you really care about in Levia because your power level was already pretty good to begin with as far as like attack actions goes. I
Yeah,
think Levia has different issues, like
yeah.
consistency based, that I don't know if
This is
these
gonna
cards
fix.
really.
I think Reinar
Yeah.
wins. Levia loses here.
I don't know if she loses. I feel like she's just like there, but like she can win.
She needs
But
shadow
like
cards.
I
I
think she
don't.
needs some more distinct cards, yeah,
Yeah,
to like interact with your banner stone specifically. So I think Brute's a win, mainly because
yeah,
of Skullcrack, mainly because of like more deck configurations that you can now build.
yeah. I think
A
we're
little
gonna
bit
get
more
some
aggressive,
more
attack action
staples.
heavy.
Yeah, more staples coming
Yep.
out of this set that you probably won't take out until the next set of Brood cards that come out.
Yep.
All
Okay, moving on
right,
to Guardian.
Shield
Um,
Guardian.
I talked about this a little bit in the spoiler review, but I feel like Guardian was already getting really good cards out of Everfest and like Crucible. Like Guardian's been on a path like Welcome to Wraith, Crucible, Everfest
Just
have all
just
been like massive upgrades.
constantly on the upswing. Yeah,
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, Bravo's in a pretty good place. Oldhim is in a pretty good place. They're both
pretty
like
good.
fairly
Yeah.
high tier decks from like just based on results alone. They're doing pretty good as
Hmm.
far as decks goes. They
Yeah.
have Valda in there too. So I feel like Guardian was definitely like one of the losers of the set, only because like you are introducing this new archetype of like heavy D
Armor.
reacts, heavy shield, heavy armor, heavy
Yeah.
blocks. But a lot of the cards is like Season Savior is like a big question mark. Like you're running it, but
Yeah.
you have to remove counters off of it, and then your only card that removes counters effectively is like very inefficient
Yeah.
as far as like your reinforce like something with the forge in it. I forgot what the name of the
Yeah.
card is.
Yeah. Reinforced steel.
Reinforced steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like
Yeah.
reinforced steel, but it's just like, oh,
You're
well,
paying 2 for it.
so why I say is a bit of a loser is because this really solidifies the control fatigue style, like
Hmm.
that Bravo has not like it's fine, but in the past Bravo hasn't really excelled that much in there. You can like Anothos fatigue with like last ditch effort and such, and there are decks that can do it. But like this focus on shield, I think needs more cards to be fleshed out. I don't see a win con here. Like
Right.
just you're just
Yeah.
blocking and your win con is fatigue. I don't like trying to go to like
Hmm.
I don't like any significant percentage where you might go to a draw in an early Swiss round in a tournament. And this deck screams draw to me
Hmm.
because you really, really do have to be able to force some kind of win con on your opponent. And I just think this is a little bit too slow. And the cards are good, and they're very specifically good into matchups where I don't know if the meta is going to have those matchups.
Yeah, I agree. I think for Bravo, he doesn't really need these cards. It's not really part of his playstyle. And then
I don't think
Oldhim
so.
is already tanky enough that he's not going to want to shift to a shield kind of defensive style. He's already got
I
that
don't really
in
need
Crown of
it.
Seeds, and he's already got his built-in defense reaction ability. I think this is too much, so it doesn't really
I
fit
think,
right now.
yeah. Like people, it's like, buckle is a thing, but I don't think interacting and breaking their armor is really like all that great. If
Yeah.
like it's not as impactful as Terra Sunder. I think
Mhm.
Oldhim, the one card is the yellow reinforced steel to like trigger on Stalagmite, which is kind
Okay,
of interesting.
that's a
Uh,
good point. Yeah,
would
just to get
wouldn't
that
wouldn't say he's
frostbite
wouldn't
again.
say he's a exactly, but I wouldn't say he's a winner because of that. Like
Yeah,
he's already a fine win,
yeah,
right?
and he might
So
not even run it. Right, it's pretty
none of these are
niche.
going to help your Icelander matchup, which is the really
Mm,
rough matchup
it's
that
true.
you have coming for you here. So Ninja.
All right, let's talk about Ninja. Yeah,
Ninja is
so I
interesting. I think
know.
Ninja was overall winner.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
Specifically Katsu.
Right.
Fi didn't really get anything here. Blazing Yuri is okay as like your sideboard tech into like the mirror
Into the
and
mirror.
such.
Yeah.
Yep. Katsu can also run this into Fi.
Into 5. Mhm.
So it gives Katsu a little bit more agency as being able to like block some upfront damage and come back with your own tempo swing.
Yeah.
Because Katsu didn't have Furnace, right? So he
Yeah.
was kind of lacking in the armor. He just kind of ran Tunic and that's it. It was a little bit on the frail side. But
Yep.
now he has Shuko. Now he has
Yoroi.
Blazing Glory is pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah.
into those really wide decks. I think that the Tiger, which is going to be our first deck tech, is the Katsu Tiger with
Yeah.
the Roar of the Tiger and Tiger Swipe with like Flex Claw and Crouching Tiger deck essentially.
Yeah.
I think this is a big win because this is another combo line essentially. Like you're comboing off Crouching. I think
Yeah.
that I'll have more to say about the deck later when we actually have it on the channel officially. But I think this is just a major win for Katsu, just giving him another combo line to be able to explore.
Yeah.
I think that while he is a winner, I don't know if this is going to push him to the level of Fi is at as far as like your burst potential,
Yeah.
and as far as the like kind of the ceiling is high. However, Channel Lake just like your
Yeah.
issues are the same as like none of these cards help Katsu's main issue. It's just another way to approach it. So while I think he's a winner as far as like some really cool combo cards and some new tech that he can employ here,
Mhm.
I think the deck is still missing a little bit something that could be fleshed out in another set. But overall, I still think he's a winner, question mark, but it really depends on the meta.
Yeah, I think his turn to turn is going to be pretty weak compared to Fi, but his blow up potential and when you get the full combo can be almost like endless, right? It's like it's huge. Your combo potential
Yeah.
is huge. Of course, like you said, you definitely suffer to decks that target you on your combo turn. So just being able to get a Katsu off here and there is not going to be
Yeah.
enough to make this deck strong, I think.
It's good. However, the win Katsu has in here is your mid range is much better because your cards block for 3. Like you
That's
don't
true.
have innate go again, but
That's true.
all of these cards block for 3, which
Yeah.
is kind of nice. Oh, most if not all
I
of them
think
block for
most,
3.
yeah, yeah. There's like a few like hex
Um,
flex clause here,
and
but
being able to more easily pivot to mid range is something that
mm,
5 really can't do that well with all your 2 blocks. You had to actively add more 3 blocks
right.
to be able to do that and weaken your ceiling. Whereas Katsu, I don't think you really have to. So it's pretty decent here.
Yeah,
So
winner in my
that's
books too.
Katsu.
I think he's doing well. All
We
right,
got Warrior.
Warrior now. Okay.
The Warrior is interesting. So I guess it's really Warrior, but like the very first card, it's a win for Bolton. Bolton got
Right.
Spirit of Arena.
Yeah.
Like that card is great. That's a
Mhm.
great card. Like everyone's like, why is this a legendary? I've played around with it a bit. Having V of the Vanguard be able to trigger
Mm.
onto your Luminas, real good. Being able
Yeah.
to pop off with like 2 cards in Soul, also real good. It
Hmm.
gives you that like extra potential not have to sit in charge
Yeah.
and be able to like bring back the amount because you could have like you don't have to have like a triple Lumina turn. You can have like a double and then a single.
Right.
As long as you're able to recharge your soul a fair amount with Lumina and then keep swinging for a lot. If they're not blocking, you're still able to like take them down to a pretty reasonable amount and have some threats left in your deck and kind of try to finish them off. My issue with Bolton is that this doesn't help his counters, which like
Yeah.
disruption still hurts him so like Icelander, Oldhim, like disruption in general, ice, like, it still hurts him quite a bit. Like having these cards cost more,
Yeah.
having his swings cost more, it's gonna be a bit of a pain in the ass. That's Bolton
I
specifically.
agree.
I think
Yeah. I'll just touch on that a little bit to say that his win condition hasn't really changed in Bolton, but
no.
it does allow him to go off earlier, which I think is a big key because he doesn't have to like take more damage to be able to go off. He can do it earlier and then hopefully survive with enough health to keep pressure on later on. So I'll say it's a win, although it's a single card, right? It's not amazing to like. You're not going to see it all the time in your decks.
Mhm.
It's
You can search it though. You can search it with Beacon Victory.
you can
which
search
is
it.
very
That's
nice.
true. Yeah, that's true. So you could get it out earlier. Yeah, I'll say it's a win. Although like I don't know if it's going to change his placement that much. He might still be on the lower end, even with this card.
Yeah, I
But
don't think it makes him tier 1, but I think
yeah.
it does improve his strength. So I'm going to call that a win because it
Okay.
improves his strength.
Okay.
So the rest of the Warrior cards are I think it's overall still a win. There are cards that you can slot directly into the meta. I think Iron Song Pride
Iron
is a
Song,
big
yeah.
win. I think that card's quite good in Dorinthia.
Hmm.
It enables you to, first of all, it's an instant speed, which is kind of nice. So it
Hmm.
comes out as a trick. It's not a non-attack, which you could predict.
Yep.
And it really just allows you to like scale counters much more efficiently because now you have triple Iron Song, you have triple Glistening Steel Blade. You have a bunch of threats that are just making your Dawnblade so efficient. Because making your Dawnblade go from a 1 for a 3 for a 1 for a 4, increasing that breakpoint into a lot of decks, especially aggro, which was running around, is very nice. Being able to get around all those different things here. As far as the axe stuff, like cleave,
Hmm.
battle axe, I think I think it's a side grade. I'm gonna play around with it and see if it's really like. I think it's
Yeah.
a for fun deck. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna be super competitive. I think the cards are too expensive for the payoff.
Yeah.
However, they are interesting. I think axes are getting there. I think the issue is they're spreading their attention towards too many different axe builds because you have hatchets and
Hmm.
now you have battle axe,
Yeah.
which is a 2-hander, and you have like spill blood, which is good with hatchets, and then you have like
Right.
these cards which are good with battle axe. So you're like splitting,
It's
and
not
you
very
have cleave.
focused on a specific
I'm
build.
kind of
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused on like some are good for one and others I don't really know. The one really great card here, Puncture, I really like.
Yep. Here it
A
is,
big
yeah.
upgrade. It's a 1 for 4 conditional, 1 for 3 guaranteed.
Hmm.
3 block. It's really nice upgrade. Precision Press less so, but Puncture is a really good card. So overall, I would say it's upside. And I would
Nice.
call Warrior in general a winner
Okay.
on this set.
Yeah. I agree. I think the cards that upgrade Dory and Bolton are pretty good. But I do think the Axe's build is to be seen if it's going to be a win yet. I think it's more on the
Maybe.
loss side for now because I don't think it's going to be used that much. But like you said, fun deck for now, and then maybe eventually with enough support, it'll be good. But I'll give Warrior a win. Yeah. All
That's
right.
fair.
We've got Mech next. All right.
I think Mech's a big winner.
Big winner. Yeah.
And we're not biased here, Spark of Genius, but
Oh no, of course not.
you've got tools for everything, and you've got a new archetype. Like you've literally, I'm looking through the cards. There's very few cards, just like a couple of the commons that are like super situational, but a lot of them serve a very specific purpose in this meta and for future metas. So we have the Habibi Blaster, and the Habibi Blaster, I was a little bit low on in the spoiler review. I'm a little bit higher on now that I've played more of it, and we will have showcases for the deck. But I think that when you're playing Boost Dash, getting 3 boosts off is not that difficult to get twice. And the thing is to have to pitch for Teklo Pistol, and you're not starting Induction because you're starting Pounder, and you can't get Go again, meaning to get the equivalent 5 damage, you have to shoot at least twice, if not 3 times. Which isn't as easy as it sounds because you're boosting a lot, you're paying for it. So to get the equivalent damage, and this thing just comes in with Overload for free once you have the 2 counters on it. I think that alone might give you more utility than having to load Pistol. And just based on that and it coming for free, I think it's like probably the ideal choice for like when you're boosting. But you have to like finish the chain on it, or if you have another action point of High Octane, you can also do that.
And you're probably gonna be using it once every 2 turns at best, right?
At best, you get a 5 every 2 turns, which is like if you can get it off like twice a game, you're getting 10 damage for just doing your stuff.
If you compare it to Pistol, that's two damage over 2 turns, right? This is 5 over 2 turns.
Yeah, so and it really depends on whether you're starting. Yeah, if you're starting Teklo Pounder or Induction.
Only in the boost version of the deck would I run this, of course.
Exactly,
Pistol's
but it's
still
a good
better in the Induction
card.
version. Yeah.
Yep, it is a good sideboard card into like Fi and decks that are like super aggressive and you need to pump out more and more and more damage, right? I think that also in the boost variant they got a nice upweight. I think Pulse Wave Harpoon is fantastic.
Right.
I think that is a 3 of. That is a direct counter to aggro decks, and I love it because that is one of your biggest issues, where it's you would do a bunch of damage, but they would just keep their hand and do more on a 5-card artboard turn or something like as Fi or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or they would just like block, and some decks would just like block you out, which is fine. But these are for the decks who are like comboing you for just more than you could do because you don't have disruption. Like you just mech cards just don't. It's like you CNC and stuff, and you have other cards that do stuff.
Not in Boost Dash.
You don't have it.
So in Boost Dash,
not exactly. In Boost Dash, you really don't. Yeah, exactly. And this thing comes in as the 3rd boost card. It still has boost. It's not a combo ender, so you can still keep going. 1-4 is like fine. It's just like slightly worse than Zipper Hit, but you're on like 9 Zipper Hit.
Zipper Hit's actually an amazing card. It's kind of like High Speed Impact a little bit. That's a 1-4. I think that gains a situational dominate.
I think a 1-5 with this text would be actually broken. So I'm glad
Zipper Hit is on a league of its own, I think. Auto run, but yeah.
Yeah, so Pulse Wave is good, and it got another Majestic Optic. BIOS
update.
Optic.
BIOS
update. BIOS update, another great card you can literally slot into multiple decks. I think this card is great in every Dash build because you are running items in all your Dash builds, especially when you're running like Data Doll and such.
Right.
BIOS update with mainline. You're going to be doing really, really, really nice things here.
Maybe the hyper defensive ones probably won't run it because they don't boost as much, right? So you don't want to waste the +3. But I think in every mid-range deck and every aggressive boost deck, this card makes so much sense.
Yeah, if you're going like life gain, sitting there blocking a bunch.
Yeah, that one you're not going to be using it. But I think most of the Dash decks that are run today have some form of boosting, right? They all run high octane typically. So I think this card has a very good slot in a lot of those decks.
Yep, I think the Nitro deck is also interesting. I think it's going to take a lot more to crack it. I think it's the ceiling is high, right?
It's promising for sure.
Yeah, because you could attack with this thing 8 times, 3 hybrid drivers, 5 equipment, and a weapon. No, 9 times, 3 hybrid drivers.
Yeah, let's see.
Weapon.
You have your head.
4 equipment. 8.
Yeah,
8 times.
Yeah.
So it's coming in for 8. All your swings are 6 except for your last one. If you can get that many action points, like it really depends, right? Off high octane.
Yeah.
But they gave support, Blessing of Ingenuity, cards like that. Plasma Mainline, definitely more of a Data Doll card for now, but could see some play in like different mech builds. But I think overall mech is a big winner.
Yep.
because it's got cards for now, cards for later, and cards for new archetypes, which is
Yeah.
kind of like
And
the perfect
even the new
trifecta.
archetype, like the condition is you have to have hyper drivers, right? You have to have 3 of
Mhm.
them to play the Mechanoid. That's not even that big
Yeah,
of a deal because there's a card that pulls all 3 of them out of your grave, and you're probably or out of your banish zone
or banish,
or banish zone,
both.
right? So
It could be both.
and it's not even a bad card. Like it's not great. You
Mhm.
wouldn't play it on its own, but it gives you extra resources when you're boosting, which you like anyway, right?
Mhm.
So I
Plus
think
your
it's I
three
think
too.
it's fine. Yeah, it synergizes really well. It's not like a bad card that you would have to run now because of Mechanoid. It's a card that has merit, I think.
Yep, I agree.
All right,
Moving
and
on
urgent
to the
delivery
next
is quite
one.
nice as well. I'll add that.
Urge Delivery is an interesting card, but I also think it's quite good.
Yeah. All right.
Not an auto include, but
Okay, so here's
Assassin.
a class that does not really have any improvement or deprovement from the previous set, right?
Yeah, it's not winner or loser is not really a term you can do because it didn't exist before.
Yeah,
However,
it's a winner for
I think
existing.
yeah, I think the class is interesting. I've seen it played it a bit.
Hmm.
I think in its current configuration in the current meta, I think it's going to be like on the high, like on a tier 2 kind of side, like a high
Hmm.
tier 2 class. I think in the right meta it can do quite well. I think
Hmm.
it still has some like pretty big issues, whereas like aggro might just like beat like if you
Run
can't
all over
banish the
you.
right stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they get unlucky, you can beat them, I guess. However, you want to play mid range, like your aggro.
Hmm.
You want to play mid range tempo. Like mid range tempo is really where you shine because your cards all block for 3.
Right.
So you're able to like block effectively and come back with a 0 for 4, a 0 for 4, go again, 0 for 4 again, right?
Yeah.
And play cards like Leap No Whispers to like break the break the tempo and force armor blocks and such. But I think against like decks like Fi, hyper aggressive decks,
Yeah.
you'd have a bit of an issue. I think decks into like other mid range decks, I think
Mhm.
Arachne will do like fairly well.
Yep.
Because you out efficient most other decks depending
Yep.
on how they're built.
If you're
So
against
I
combo
think that
decks, you have a very good chance of banishing their combo pieces too.
mhm. Yeah, depending on like if you're playing against Briar and you banish their channel mounts, you're
Yeah.
just like
You're sitting pretty. Yeah.
there's no way they're gonna get through your shit. Like their damage potential is nowhere near high enough
Yep.
without channel mounts.
Yeah.
Because all your cards block for 3 and you run sinks and like stuff like
Hmm.
that. So it's like so
Yeah.
that can be good. Um
Yeah. I think
Winner,
it's
I guess.
yeah. I'll say
Sure.
winner. It'll be experimented with a ton, and I think it'll see some results. Maybe not the top of the food chain, but it's quite good, and I think it's
I think
interesting.
I think the deck can top 8. I just don't know how much it can win.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Depends on the meta. I
Depends.
think more aggressive metas will make this deck a little more sad. All right, let's move
Yeah,
on.
let's do, like heavy 50. So Ranger.
Ranger.
Ranger's interesting.
Hmm.
I put side grade, and
Okay.
it might sound
Yeah.
kind of weird because I think that aim counters are supposed to be the focus, no pun intended, are supposed to be the focus here of Ranger in this set. And you see Sandscour Great Bow, right? It's competing with Death Dealer.
Yeah.
It's competing with well, look at like Azalea. I don't think this set was for Lexi. I think Lexi needed like
Yeah.
I don't really know what Lexi needed. I think Lexi needs to write meta, honestly. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know like if any of these cards really help. Like there are some
No.
cards like Heat Seeker that will help Lexi. I think Heat Seeker is a really really great card.
Yeah.
But in general, as far as like Ranger, I think Lexi's a bit of a loser here. Whereas Azalea is a bit of a side grade because I think getting aim counters, like I don't think you're running Sandscour over Death Dealer. I think
Right.
you give up so much card advantage by getting rid of Death Dealer.
Yeah.
I think the best arrow on this is actually Drill Shot, in my opinion, because
Mm.
Drill Shot doesn't need the aim counter and still puts a -1 on your opponent when it hits, right? And it's a
0
zero
for 4
arrow.
too. Yeah.
So it's a 0 effective 5, but you could possibly reduce effectiveness of armor
Hmm.
on like a 2 block armor. You could do another 2. It's quite nice. Um,
Yeah.
but like cards like Heat Seeker, cards like Deadeye, I think, like the
Yeah.
ones that like Deadeye's
Deadeye.
pretty good. You're including probably triple Deadeye. Immobilizing Shot's a little bit too niche for me, but Deadeye
Yeah.
and Heat Seeker, very good cards. But the
Mm.
rest of the deck's kind of a bit of a side grade.
Yeah.
I think aim counters still need support.
You really do need the Sandscour to go full in onto the aim counter strategy.
You have point the tips, I think.
Yeah, the one that
The
gives that one's actually pretty good. I think you might just run it. It says target arrow gains +3, and then put an aim counter on it. So this card,
yeah.
I think, great. Yeah, this card's really good in just regular decks where you run the, I guess, the more vanilla aim counter arrows. The ones that are good
Mhm.
even without them. Maybe the 1 for 5 Heat Seeker. Oh, it's not
Yeah.
even an aim
I just
counter. But
yeah.
you might run with
I don't think
immobilizing,
there's.
possibly.
I, I think overall there's not enough upside to aim counters at the moment
Oh,
over like the
forgot
regular sailor build.
forgot about hemorrhage bore. The CNC.
Hemorrhage board.
It's the CNC arrow.
If you have the aim counter, yeah.
Yeah.
But the the issue is I don't really think there's enough upside to like replace a bunch of your Zayla cards with this and go the aim counter route because like Hemorrhage Boar is just a vanilla arrow with an aim counter. So unless you're running Sand Scour and you're giving up your card advantage off Death Dealer, then you're just like it's just a vanilla. And
Yeah.
vanilla arrows, if
It's
anything the last meta has taught, you can't just run a bunch of vanilla arrows.
it's so hard to
You just need-
justify getting rid of the Death Dealer. I think that card's too good.
especially in Azalea. Yeah, especially with Cross Trap, just works so well. So I think it's a side grade for Azalea and a loss for Lexi.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. All right, Runeblade. Yeah, so
I think Runeblade is a loser in this set, but I don't think it's really just because they've probably done this thing where they're setting up for some other set or they're setting up for like a future possibility. I think there are
future
good
hero,
cards.
maybe future archetype.
Yeah, there's just like for the current meta, I think Runeblade was a bit of a loser compared to the other classes. I think like some of the better cards are like Looming Doom is pretty interesting, where like you can have the interaction with creepers, where you can actually it costs a lot and it's a little bit cheap, but you can like get it out and get those rune chants onto the Looming Doom and still have them proc off like a revel turn. Very expensive turn.
And maybe to explain it further for people who don't know, because I just learned about this recently. But apparently, if you attack and get the rune chants off to attack that turn, you can then, as an instant speed, creepers out Looming Doom, consume the rune chants, but the damage still goes through apparently.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's kind of nice.
So it is a thing. It's very expensive. I think
3.
this doesn't help. Yeah, this doesn't really help Runeblade, like either of the Runeblades matchups into like Fi or like Viscera into Fi is just kind of bad. Like Viscera can't really tank through all of Fi's damage and doesn't go off as hard.
Yeah, decent Majestic and Cryptic Crossing. Might see some sideboard.
I think the best sideboard card here is Diabolic Ultimatum into Icelander because you can get rid of like
your own Frost Hex.
You can get your own Frost Hex and their like either their
Insidious maybe.
Insidious, yeah, but I think that matchup is still like still difficult if they give you Frostbites beforehand. Like if they somehow gave you Frostbites, this thing costs 3.
This card's expensive. So,
card's expensive. I guess get that into sideboard.
Definitely Duet. I would say that's a
bit of a small upgrade. More of a side grade, but small upgrade. I think the rest of the cards are like Rune Generation or generic damage cards that don't really help your deck that much.
Yeah, a lot of them are pretty bad. So I agree. In general, Runeblade's a loser. I felt it even before we did the full review. It's like these cards don't feel
nothing really for as Channel Mount Briar as being like the best Briar deck at the moment. I don't think any of these cards help Briar either.
No.
Like Briar was never a Rune Chant generator.
No, but Runeblade has been a winner in the past like 2 or 3 sets now. So I think
same as Guardian,
about
right?
time.
It's like the same kind of idea. It's like Guardians and Runeblade have been like focused on for the last couple sets.
They did a good job in trying to balance them out. So props. All right, Wizard.
Right. Wizard's a winner. I think this is just straight up power creep, and I love it because Wizard needed it. You can see that every single one, okay, not every single one, but a lot of these search cards are just better versions of the ARC cards.
Right.
So Zap is better Zap.
I love the wordplay on that too. It's really funny.
I think Surge is a great keyword.
Zap.
In that it gives you a nice ceiling to all your like cards that were just vanilla, right? Like instead of Voltic Bolt, you have Swell Tidings. That 2 for 5 can get you a Ponder token and reset your card. Right. So if you play it out of Arsenal, if you have no Arsenal, you can just get a card off the Surge. This makes cards like Stir the Aether Winds and Blessing of the Aether more important to give like +3s with Crucible. So if you're able to like consistently +4 your attacks, the chances of you getting your Surge off is just much higher. So if you're running Zaps, you're running Saps. Aether Quickening is a great card. On rate 1 for 4, giving you a Go Again token is kind of disgusting.
Right.
Because you can like Snapback is still legal in CC, so you can do something like a Quickening. You can possibly Quickening like a Tome or something like that, like Tome of Findel from the Arsenal, gain life, and then play like Snapback or just Kano off the blues. Get like a Blazing going on or something like that. It's very easy damage that isn't that hard to pull off because decks aren't running a shit ton of like more than 3 null rune, and if they are, they're usually sacrificing something to do so.
I think Surge will give a good advantage into aggro decks that don't want to block as much. It'll
Yeah,
it'll punish them greatly. I think
yeah.
so. I
I think
think
so
that's
too. I think you can do
really
some
good.
like really crazy shit. I think Brainstorm is a bit of a troll card for now. I
Yeah.
think it needs to cost a lot less than 3. Maybe it's for a future set.
Yeah.
I think Mind Warp's really good. The 2 Surge that makes them mulligan.
Oh, here it
That's
is. Yeah, yeah.
so cool. And they shuffle it in too, so their pitch stack is gone.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like
Yeah.
that's a great card. I think the weapons suck.
Yeah.
I think
But that's
like
not the
you need
important part. I think you still run Crucible.
no, yeah, you're still running Crucible or Waning Moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like
But
I think it's overall a big win for Wizard.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think
Who needed it? Yeah.
Wizard needed it. And this isn't really a set for Icelander. This is more for Kano, right? So
We're talking about Kano.
yeah.
Icelander's in a stun grade. Nothing really.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to Icelander here.
I think last we have Illusionist.
So Soraya, I'm going to ignore because this kind of only comes into
Unplayable
play
right now.
Blitz
In
right
CC.
now. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, because we're only talking about CC. So I'm gonna ignore Soraya.
All we've got to talk about is Dromai.
Literally Dromai. I think maybe you're gonna be playing Iris Dromai or something like that. Try to get some like because in reality, like none of these cards do anything for dragons. The dragon deck, right?
Exactly.
It's just not. They don't help your bad matchups, and your bad matchups are like aggro, and like decks with a lot of poppers, right? It's like those are the matchups that are more difficult, and these cards seem to relate solely to Spectral Shield and Ward, and the payoff seems negligible at best, other than some like okay efficiencies with like Tome of the Oreos, well Oreo, but you know
Oreo, yeah. Yeah.
Like all these cards have Ward. Yeah, you have Kimono that like gives you the resource when it's
No one's interested.
busted.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like, well, if they bust it on their turn, like if you're warding, if the ward pops and it gets destroyed and you get the mana on their turn, you need something at instant speed to actually proc it, right? But like Prism's LL, so there's not a lot. I think with Prism, this is actually an interesting chess piece with Prism.
Yeah.
But then you can like add some of these in, and then you only have to like pitch a blue. I think Tunic's probably still better, but interesting design space. Overall, I think this is a loser here, because Dromai needs something that's not this. Either better, like Dromai got like those 3 Ash tokens.
Right, we can go back to those, but they weren't really much, I'll say.
No, I don't think like giving your Thamai or Necria no Phantasm is really changing the game. I think Vincerica is interesting, but like
that
you have to.
The only okay one, I think, because that card's really strong. If you can get that off into an aggro deck or something, that's gonna be a lot of damage.
But like, what do you Mage Masters this thing and then play Vincerica? So you're not Mage Mastering like a Tome of Findel? Like, is that really what? Like, you could do some things, go again, and then end your turn on.
I guess
like,
you can set it up still over multiple turns, right? You can just play it early.
So here's my issue. Okay, so you play this thing out, and then either you don't draw Vincerica till late, or the turns you can't draw it, you don't have 3 pitch for it because your deck doesn't run a bunch of blues, or you have to block with that or you die. There's too many scenarios that are too spooky for me.
Yeah.
That are like, if I spend a turn, an action point playing this thing, it might just literally be a dead card. So it'd be a block for 3 red. But like I have a bunch of block for 3 reds.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. Yeah.
I think Illusionist is a bit of a loser. I think the Iris is interesting. I think Dromai Iris is like something that can be explored with this ward mechanic. I think it needs another set to be fleshed out though.
Yeah. I think that might be it. Generic, but we don't talk about generic.
Royal is a loser because I'm not really sure why you'd ever want to be Royal. Like, I'm really not sure what Royal got other than those 3 items that seemed like kind of meh.
They were kind of meh. Yeah, I mean, Edict, Ledger, and Warhorn. Yeah.
I think Edict's okay.
Yeah. But
I think the other 2 are like very situational, and then Arachne comes in with Regicide, and then you just like shit yourself. So like, I think it's very like there's not other than cash in. What do you use gold for?
You pitch it to draw a card.
Like literally cash, like you pay 1 gold, cash ins for free, it turns into 2 cards. So you're turning 1 into 2 with a gold. But then you need to play that 1 piece of equipment to get your gold.
Yeah, and you give up all armor. There's no armor on this card. We'll see. Maybe
something with the next
some very trolly decks might come out of this, but not a winner. All right.
Yeah, not a winner.
I guess that's it.
I think it's pretty much it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Not a particularly long episode. of Spark to Your Genius. Is this Spark to Your? Yes, probably Spark to Your Genius.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but with that,
Yeah.
let us know what you think of the set. If you think someone else is the winner and or loser and you don't agree, just as a reminder, we said Brute's a winner, Ninja's a winner, on average for
Yeah.
like the different classes specifically. Brute's a
So
winner, Ninja's a
Ninja.
winner. Less of a winner, I guess. Guardian's a loser, Warrior's a winner, Mech's a winner, Ranger's a side grade, or Wizard's a winner, Illusionist is a loser, and Runeblade is a loser. So if you disagree or agree, and why, let us know in the comments. We like to learn things. We're not all knowing. We are not all powerful. And with that, appreciate everyone for watching. If you did like the content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, from wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.